You're listening to episode 82 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Isaiah Hankel.
You are not going to make a big change in your life until you experience pain. End of story. Like, you just won't.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Han, and welcome to the Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we dive into what makes an awesome lifestyle. From relationships to money mindset, nutrition to fitness, emotional health to peak performance, we bring you on an amazing journey to unleashing your human potential. So here's a little bit about today's guest. Isaiah Hankel received his doctorate in anatomy and cell biology as an expert on mental focus, behavioral psychology, and career development. His work has been featured in The Guardian, Fast Company, and Entrepreneur magazine. Isaiah's previous book, Black Hole Focus, was published by Wiley & Sons and was selected as Business Book of the Month in the UK and became a business bestseller internationally. Isaiah has delivered corporate presentations to over 20,000 people, including over 300 workshops and keynotes worldwide in the past 5 years alone. Isaiah is the CEO and founder of Cheeky Scientist, a career training company that specializes in helping PhDs transition into corporate careers. He is also the director of Hankel Leadership. Through these ventures, Isaiah has consulted on career development, employee management, entrepreneurship, focus, and motivation at several Fortune 500 companies. He has been invited to speak at top institutions, including Harvard Medical School, Stanford University, Vanderbilt University, University of Chicago, University of Oxford, England, the Marie Curie Institute France, and St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Isaiah grew up working on a sheep farm in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S., before going on to get his doctorate. After receiving his doctorate, Isaiah started and successfully excited several other technology-based companies, and then went on to be formally trained in the fields of behavioral economics, behavior psychology, and online marketing. Isaiah's blue-collar background, white-collar corporate training, and academic credentials allow him to work with a wide range of organizations, connect meaningfully with all types of individuals and institutions. So here's our guest today, Isaiah. Okay, everyone, we've got Isaiah in the locker room today. He's going to talk about the science of intelligence and achievement. This guy's really cool. I actually had a chance to speak to him about a week ago, and we kind of hit it off right off the bat. I mean, we look kind of similar and weird all at the same time. And Isaiah, welcome.
Welcome. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I love having you here. So let's get into your story, because you're pretty interesting as an academic, and I'm just like, your book is wild, because I think it can apply to, so many different people's lives, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they're a student, whether they're an athlete, all of the principles inside can kind of lead us in a good direction. So give us your story. Like, how did you where did this come from?
Yeah, I think it was just through a lot of painful experiences, like most things, right? So you mentioned my academic background. I went to grad school, and, I thought I was on this clear path for my life that was laid out for me. Just follow XYZ, right? Like, get this carrot, this carrot, this carrot. But then I ended up in basically a dead end, because things shifted, right? Things shifting much faster now than before, right? Whether it's Uber destroying the taxi industry or whatever, like that happens in a few months, where it used to take 20 years to have a huge paradigm shift. So in academia, there's a paradigm shift where, like, the best science, the best research is not being done in academia anymore. It's being done in business and industry. And so I thought I was going to be a professor. Got to the end, realized there's not even any professorships left. Like, it's impossible to get tenure now. And I was like, well, what do I do? I just was months of not figuring out what to do. And that's really a weird situation to be in for somebody who's like planned out and regimented and has a plan, right? Like, all of a sudden, like, what do you do when it doesn't just not go to plan, but like the plan doesn't even exist? Like, there's a cliff at the end of the plan. And that's where I was. And then I got a job, and then something similar happened. Like, I was like, I'm a big success. I'm Don Draper, right, from Mad Men. I'm like living this kind of like young professional dream. And then I had a medical crisis that happened to me that really just pulled out, the rug out from underneath me. I mean, I know I'm using a lot of metaphors here, but it was like another cliff. And I was like, what is going on? And I said, I feel like I'm on like the ocean, right? Like during a huge storm, and I'm fine as long as the weather's good. But if the weather's not good, like I'm losing myself when things go wrong externally. And like I said, that can't be right. And so what I realized is I was like, it's really just fake success. Like we achieve this a level of success. We arrive in some sense in our careers, whatever it is. And I mean, you have a similar background. You're in like the health industry and stuff. You get there, you think this is it. I made it, and then it doesn't fulfill you. And then when something changes, you are rocked by it instead of being like, whatever, I'm cool. And that's because you're living fake success. You're living somebody else's idea of what success is to you, instead of the opposite, which I call in the book, which is intelligent achievement, which is that kind of success where it doesn't matter what happens externally. You can get rocked all day long. You're like, whatever, because at your core, your line doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't even change the direction that you're going because you are on your path already.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said, when the water's calm, everything's good, and when it's rocky, it's everything kind of just goes into disarray. I think you're really you're speaking to everybody when you say this, or everybody has this experience. I think I know I do at times. Like it's like man, I'm rock and rolling, it's good, and like I get a curveball thrown at me in life, and I'm like, what the hell? Like what? And like it just kind of like flatline for a little bit. Like what am I doing? Like I just lost, But then I have to like refine my purpose. All right, where was I going? Like, get my compass bearing, if you will, and go. But I think that's every man, every woman probably has that somewhere in their life.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's so hard to understand until you go through it, that we've all repackaged it and said it in 1,000 different ways over thousands of years. And we're still figuring out better and better ways to communicate it. It's like, look, you are not going to make a big change in your life until you experience pain. End of story. Like you just won't. Until you have something horrible happen that shows you where you've really messed up and what you haven't done to fulfill yourself, and something that rocks your life, you're not going to change. It's just the way that we are. Like pain is the most powerful motivator. Yeah. And, we all try to talk to each other, whether it's on podcasts or books, whatever else, like warning the next person, like, dude, something's coming, man, get ready. And the other person's like, oh, this is great to read and to listen to, but they don't, until they have that painful experience. It's really hard to change. And so I guess that's the message here.
Yeah, that's a cool message. So let's kind of dive back. In your bio, it says something really cool. As I was reading it earlier, you grew up working on a sheep farm.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, wait, I'm thinking, as I'm going through your bio and you're looking at it through the book, I'm like, hold on, wait, did that say sheep farm?
A lot of sheep farmers out here, man. I mean, I've given time, I thought that I was like in the know with sheep in the U.S. because I'm like from the Pacific Northwest, sheep farms out here. But then I went to the UK, and man, they crush us in sheep farming. There are so many sheep farms out there in like the surrounding pastures of outside of London and stuff. It's unbelievable. Anyway, it was one of the best things to happen to me growing up, like doing this kind of work and manual labor. Like I was one of those kids that used to run around and like ask to mow your lawn for $2 and rake it and stuff. You don't see that now. Like you used to have all the kids competing to do that. Now, I mean, you're lucky to see a kid outside. And I think that kind of manual work is incredible in terms of helping you figure out who you are, helping you understand things like self-reliance, whatever, right? Because you're the one that has to pick up the dirt. You're the one that has to pick up the rake and do it. Like you're not just like clicking a few buttons and doing it. Anyway, it's one of the best experiences of my life, and it was a poor start, like a less than blue collar start, but it's something I'm proud of now.
Yeah, that's cool. And most people have that kind of like pain to their success. It's like a really cool story. I think that's neat. Like most people I speak to have some little thing, but like, I mean, that's like, you had like you the less than blue collar. And most people are listening to this are, blue collar up, right? I mean, like, so they don't ever have, I grew up in a nice area. I grew up with nice things. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I was the guy shoveling driveways and, like stuff like that. Like we just would do it just because it would keep us outside and keep us busy. And hey, if we make a few bucks, even better. Like, why not? But it's interesting. So let's get into a little bit of like what you're really up to now. I mean, you have a company, you have this book. What's your goal? Like, what's your I don't want to say end goal is a bad word, but what's your goal? Like with all of this, I mean, you're diving into so much content and learning and teaching and helping people evolve their lives.
Yeah. And for me, it has evolved for me personally, like what my goal is and what I want to do. Early on, I just wanted to do something that gave me autonomy. Like, this is who I am. And there's a great book on this by Daniel Pink called, I think it's Drive. And it says, like, we really have three needs. Like, his was autonomy, and I think it was like, no, maybe it was like 60s, like mastery. I don't know. But the human needs really, really intrigue me. And it doesn't matter, Tony Robbins has different ones, like significance versus, what are some of the other ones? I think he has purpose too, like love, like different types of connection. So that stuff always intrigued me. And I was like, but I like to reduce stuff. And I guess that's the scientist in me. I was like, what are the actual needs, the prime needs that people need? Because your needs are connected to your goals. Like, the reason that we're driven to do something is because we're lacking a need, right? Like, our need is another word for a reason why. And if you've read books by like Simon Sinek or all these other people we all quote all the time, right? Like, start with why. It matters, but try to break it down, right? So when you experience pain in your life, which I've already talked about is a powerful motivator, you're experiencing that pain because you're not meeting one of your needs. So the question becomes, what are your needs? And everybody has different theories on needs. It's been studied scientifically by behavioral psychologists, etc. I wanted to reduce that. And what I found was there's three prime needs: autonomy, connection, and growth. That's it. Like, you need those three. And if you don't have any of those three, you're experiencing pain. And we've all experienced this, right? Like, if you're not growing in any area of your life, or if you're not at the point where you thought you were going to be at that, whatever that threshold is, you're experiencing pain. You're not happy in that area. That's why sometimes some of us are very happy, we're in shape, whatever else, but our business isn't to where we thought it was going to be, or career. We're in pain, right? Our business is going great, whatever, but we've let ourselves go. We're not in shape. We're experiencing pain. So it's that kind of growth, that constant growth in all the areas of your life really, really matters. Autonomy and connection, they're kind of opposing forces, and they can be split into lots of different subgroups. Like connection, there's like deeper love, there's like friendship, there's like acquaintances, there's just being around other people. I've traveled a lot on the road by myself, and I can tell you, we all have experienced being homesick or lonely before. But at the same time, we've all experienced being suffocated by other people and just needing space. And that's where that autonomy comes in. And a lot of us today have a great chance to experience just elegant levels of autonomy that we've never got to experience before, because we can start a podcast or a radio show or a website or whatever else and can control what's happening. So anyway, if you're experiencing pain, it's because one of those three needs is not being fulfilled. Growth, autonomy, connection.
So the pain is kind of like sitting on top of that stool, if you will, like that three-legged stool. And if something that one of those legs starts to lose height, that pain starts to show up. And yeah. I
mean, it's balancing. I mean, you might even think of the stool as being upside down, where pain is on the bottom, and then those three things. I like to think of them as buckets too, right? So sometimes you'll have your like growth bucket is full and you're just rocking it, but you're like lonely, you're like sucks, right? And other times you have like your autonomy buckets rocking and you're feeling really good, but you're not growing. Like, you have a lot of freedom. And a lot of us have experienced this. I mean, you probably experienced it when you're first starting your show or trying to do something new or first getting into your career. We've all experienced it, in college. Like, we had tons of freedom, but no autonomy or power to do anything whatsoever. Like, we could not feel in anything other than just, going to the mall or whatever.
Yeah, you get that the engine's revving, but you're not, no gear to put it in, right?
Like that. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So I look at in your book, you have some really interesting chapters, and maybe we could talk about this, because one of them like really just caught my eye. And I thought it was kind of funny. One of them, a bunch of them did, but the fifth chapter says, scientific proof that 50% of your friendships are fake.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, can you talk about that? I think that's so cool. Like, most people, it's like, I have 10,000 friends on Facebook, or 100,000, a million, whatever it is. But really, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but.
Yeah. And so the studies that were done here, and these are scientific studies, hence the scientific proof in the chapter title. I was talking about the friendships that you have and and that you've met in person. And when you hear that, you're probably like, some people are like, no way. But there's a larger group of people that are like, yeah, I can see that, right? Because what they're defining here, the experimenters, they're defining a real friendship as a reciprocal friendship, where like, I'm adding value to you, I'm there for you when you need it, you add value to me, you're there for me when I need it in different ways, whatever. A non-reciprocal relationship is a fake relationship, a fake friendship, where somebody's giving everything to the relationship and getting nothing in return, or getting everything from the relationship and giving nothing. And we've all been on both sides of that. Like, I know there's just been people that have done so much for me, and it was almost like they were doing so much, it was almost a turnoff.
Yeah.
Like, came on too strong, whatever else. And so you almost do less and less. Other people, sometimes you're just not interested. I mean, this sounds like horrible to say, but it's just, these weird biological things happen, right? Like some people you have instant rapport with, some people you can build rapport with, and others you'll never have rapport with. Mm-hmm. So this study looked at those different factors, and what it found in the greater population is that 50% of the relationships were non-reciprocal, right? Where somebody was getting all of the value or giving all of the value. And that number is just overwhelmingly, it's overwhelmingly, I guess, larger than you would possibly think.
I would say 50% sounds low.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about just like, we'll say friendships, even think about like marriages, relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm sure either side thinks they're probably giving their all, but they're not giving it the right way. That's
true. And I love that you said that, because it kind of flips it on its head. And I think the actual experiment looked at those that were really lopsided, like if they were in a gray area and there was still some value going forth, you're fine. I think it was just like, these are like purely the fake relationships that we all allow in our lives for some reason. I can't tell. I mean, I had a group of friends in college. I called them my friends, but a couple of them, I was just really trying to get them to like me and to like accept me. And at best, they would tolerate me. That's the kind of fake friendship I'm talking about. But at the same time,
no, I get it.
There was people that were doing that to me, and I was like very dismissive of them looking back. And I'm like, but I kept them in my life because it made me feel good. If I'm being really honest, I don't know. It's this weird thing.
Making you feel almost like the popular kid, like, oh yeah, these people like me. Maybe it's like, it kind of fluffs the ego a little bit.
Exactly. And I think you got to be brutally honest with yourself when you're doing that, and go on what I call as a relationship fast, which is talked about in the book, to really evaluate and audit your friendships to see who you need to let go because you're never going to make them a priority, and who you need to let go because they're never going to make you a priority, or they're just sucking you into nonsense and drama all the time.
Yeah, and that's really neat, and I think that's would be such a huge challenge, but I think such an important thing. I don't know who said this, and maybe a Tony Robbins, maybe like a Gary Vee. I just saw him. He said, like, you are the result the result of your 5 people you hang around most, or something like that, your financial quotient, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like it's around the 5 people you hang around the most, that you're like, so if you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are chronic complainers and all of this stuff, he goes, well, just look at your life. What's different?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think for me, and what I try to do differently, or I guess maybe what I talk about a bit more, is really that self-reliance and self-responsibility piece. And that's what the book kind of goes into, and what I think you're going to see there more than you would see in other stuff. Because I think right now there's this, the zeitgeist, or this kind of in the ether of your network is your net worth. And everybody thinks it's all about the people I connect with. Like, my success is who I know. If I don't know the right people, if I can just know the right people, I'm going to get ahead. And so what that does is a lot of people, instead of taking action on their own to get something done, they're asking for help. They're asking to get around people. They're going to like all of these events and conferences and just like schmoozing, and that's it. They're seeing all these people talk, and that's it. And that's great, but at its core, it has to be you taking action. You have to take responsibility for all your shortcomings, be realistic, and realize that while it's okay to have a vision and to fake it before you make it, like, don't confuse yourself. If you've done nothing and you make no revenue in your business, you have a fake book that you've inflated on Amazon by dropping it to 1 penny for an hour. By all of these different ways that we've kind of learned to navigate and inflate stuff, be realistic with yourself. It's like, I'm doing this to get to the next level. That's fine, but don't lie to yourself that you're somehow successful, or you're somehow the combination of all these great people you're seeing just because you're hanging out with them.
It's that same popularity thing that we were just talking about.
Exactly.
It's that same idea. That's interesting. And I'm thinking, I'm like kind of looking at myself in the mirror as I don't have a mirror, but as we're talking, it's like, before I started the podcast, I knew a lot of people. I've been very fortunate in my life to be around lots of really interesting people and learn from a lot of people, and call some of them great friends, and some of them are friendly with, like I could pick up a phone and call them. But until doing this and being able to have, like yourself, having conversations, like holy cow, I love being able to do this, because I feel much more connected, we're doing it via Skype. If I had to talk to you on the phone, for me, it's not the same thing.
Sure.
So building that rapport, building that excitement. I mean, I feel cool that I get to talk to people like yourself because, I said this before, I feel very selfish in a sense of having a podcast because, I get to talk to you and I get to ask questions and I get to learn from these experts. But the neat thing is I get to share with the world. So it's kind of like this selfish, exciting thing, maybe to fluff my ego, but I love to be able to, give it to everybody to have, for free. Like, here, take this. This is going to help you.
Exactly. Well, you're also taking action. So I don't think there's anything selfish about it because you are saying, I'm going to do the hard work to set this up, to organize these interviews, to do the follow-up, all the stuff that's involved that most people don't see. That's on you. What most people try to do is they just want to talk about having a podcast, talk about blogging, they want to talk about writing, blah, blah, blah. And they just want other people to help them. They think that just by being around other people who are doing it, they are that person. And you see all of these fake career professionals, fake business people, fake authors that never get out of that phase of kind of learning and faking it before you make it. Stay there. And don't get me wrong, like you have to go through that phase, right? To get there, you have to see yourself there. You have to get around people. You have to learn, but you have to take action at the end of the day, and you're responsible for it. It's nobody else is going to do it before you. And I know this because I've made this mistake. Like I was starting my blog and I was like, reaching out to people. I'm like, oh, if you could just share my blog and just do this for me and everything. And really I need to say, I need to do this first. I need to make something happen. And that's going to attract people to you that want to help instead of begging for handouts.
Yeah, that's neat. So let's get a little more into this, but this is going in a different direction. I didn't really know where it would go, but it's good. It's a good direction. Because I mean, is the book, would you say it's a book where people can take, action steps on like right away? Is it something that's more knowledge based? Where like, okay, I'm more of a thinking book or an action book, or a little bit of both.
For me, the goal is to make it more of an action book and to have really just 3 clear steps. The first thing you need to do if you want to change your life in any way is you have to be selective with your focus. Now, a lot of people talk about focus. They talk about mindset, etc. But without that selective piece, it doesn't matter. Like I can focus on nonsense all day long that's not productive. Who cares? I can focus on like the news or whatever else. Like focus does not matter, but your ability to selectively focus on the right things that are going to get you to where you want to go, change your life in the right way, change other people's lives, that's crucial. And right now, if you look at the data and the science on it, it is amazing. People spend over 40% of their waking time now just filtering through information. And if you realize, if I have 16 hours in a day, like 7 of those hours are going to be spent filtering through information, whether it's an email inbox or whatever, like project management software you have at work, or, the things you want to watch online to find a good podcast or to find whatever, the news, all this at the grocery store, it doesn't matter. So if you realize that, you're like, wow, I'm already down to X amount of time. I need to, start creating some systems that are going to automate a lot of this for me, like whether it's a personal habit, right, that becomes an automatic system mentally. I hire somebody or use an app or whatever else, start protecting some of that mental energy. Anybody who's draining your mental energy, like who's just creating drama and sucking it out of you, you have to step away from because it is your most valuable asset. And that's what the beginning of the book is about, is how your most valuable asset is not time. Right? We know this. Like if you've watched the same movie twice because you're just tired at the end of the day, or a rerun of your favorite TV show or a YouTube clip, time's not your most valuable asset. You did it because you were mentally exhausted. If you own a watch and a phone, right, you know that money's not your most valuable asset. Like why would you need both? We all buy stuff we don't need. It doesn't matter even what country you're in. Like we just do. We buy things to help us to take care of a task, especially by tools, right? Humans, we buy tools to preserve our mental energy. And then the network piece. Like everybody says, oh, your most valuable asset's your network. I say it's not, because we've all wanted to give more to our relationships or build more relationships, but we were too exhausted or stretched too thin or just didn't have the mental energy in the day. And I actually heard, I forget where I heard him. I think it was Dave Asprey who said, don't ask yourself how you can get more hours in the day. Ask yourself how you can get more energy so you can accomplish more in each hour, right? So instead of saying, how can I get an extra hour in the day? How can I be so productive and so mentally alert that I can get, something that takes somebody else an hour to do done in a single minute or 10 minutes, et cetera. So that's the starting point of the book. And then it moves to step 2 and 3, which is creative ownership and pragmatic growth.
Yeah, this is neat because it's almost like I love like learning nerdy things. That's just part of my part of me. And but this I know this is like really cool because it's almost like a step by step that you're giving, but it's got a ton of real life science that just kind of is able to kind of take it. It's like a leash bringing you along. Like this works. This has like been tested and tried and true. If you follow these steps, it's not just like one of these. It's not a rah book, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think that is the thing that for me, I've always found more value in just like laying out the hard truth and saying, look, you're being an idiot. That's why this is not working. It's not because you don't know the right people, right? It doesn't matter how enthusiastic you are. If you're applying the wrong strategy, if you're applying strategies in the wrong sequence, if you're doing it for the wrong reason, you're going to fail. This is the hard truth. There's data out there. And most people are like, well, all that matters is your intention, right? That's a buzzword people love, right? What's your intention? Or people love like, what's your truth? I don't care about your truth or your intention. What I care about are facts. I care about the data because everybody, doesn't matter if it's the biggest hippie in the world, right? If you're going to come face to face with a health crisis or something else that requires real data, and you're going to be like, okay, now I want the facts, right? What's actually
what do I have to do? What's going to help me?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, being that this is a lifestyle podcast, I know we're kind of diving into business and everything. I listen to tons and tons of podcasts. I'm in a car commuting, so it's kind of like my second education or third or whatever you want to call it. Constantly learning, and then books on tape. There you go. There's age for you. Books, audio books, my cassette tape player.
You didn't say 8-track, so you're fine.
Good, exactly. I don't even know where the hell I was going. God, so how do you like that? God, how did I brain fart for anything?
So you're talking about it's been a lifestyle blog.
Yeah, lifestyle, and we've talked about business and everything. So these principles that you're talking about, like in the science of intelligent achievement, doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, listen, I want to go create the next, Google or Facebook tomorrow. It may be, or next Instagram or whatever it is. But I mean, you can apply these principles. I mean, like it's like an application process, right? Like if you want to change your nutrition, if you want to change your fitness, like you said, we spoke about like your body, all of these things, they're all take selective focus. I mean, that's like the first thing you need to know, that you need to focus on something and then take the appropriate steps. I kind of bastardized what you probably said, but I mean,
no, it's true. I think that, like you said the right word, focus on the right principles, not processes. Processes are changing by the day. I mean, how many different social media platforms are there, right? Like a lot of people use social media to get their word out. I mean, there's a new one that springs up every, I guess a new worthy one that's going to spring up every couple of months or so. And so don't worry about processes. If you apply the right principles, you're doing things for the right reasons, you're following the trends. Like a lot of people forget about trends. And again, this is going to the science. Like we just cherry pick and say, well, this worked here at this time. Who cares? Like what's the trend? Like are things trending down? Are they trending up? Everybody wants to choose one single data point that gives them, the single snapshot that makes them feel good or what they're doing is right, but they don't want to look at the trend. And this is how it doesn't matter if it's a billion-dollar business or you individually in your life are going to fail if you don't look at the trends. Like if you are putting on a pound a day, right, but you look one day where you happen to not drink water before you got on the scale and say, oh, my weight's not that bad, you're lying to yourself, right? Like you have to evaluate the trends in the data, the trends in what you're doing, whether it's physical, mental, emotional health, et cetera. And a lot of us have very, very advanced biological systems from hiding from that or evading reality is what I say.
Yeah. We are sometimes too smart for our own good to help us. Yeah. And I interviewed someone a couple days ago, and he's like, it seems like we're all going in this direction. It goes, if you've seen Wally, right? Yeah. Like we're all like going to be sitting down, like, obese, like floating around and like talking to computers to tell us to do stuff and feed us because we don't want to take responsibility for anything in our lives anymore.
That's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw that. It was like, This is like the Matrix on steroids. It's like a children's cartoon. I was like, oh my gosh.
Exactly, right?
I had to go to the gym right after watching that.
Too funny. So here, let's get into this for a second, because the book is what has come out of you, right? All this knowledge that you've kind of shared with everybody. But you have a company called the Cheeky Scientist, right? So what do you do? I mean, what is this really about? Like, you're training people to do what? Because I know you're a smart guy, so I got to ask these things.
Get into actual careers where they can make big things happen in the world, whether it's big advancements in healthcare, technology, etc. Like there's been a lot out there now about the power of introverts. It was a best-selling book by I think a really great author, Susan. I forget her last name, but it was a great book, The Power of Introverts in a Noisy World. But there's a lot of stuff out there about how introverts now with technology are kind of taking over things, because introverts tend to be very action oriented. They get energized by being by themselves. That's the definition of an introvert. It's not shy or not. And so I started digging in, and I'm like, okay, well, what's a segment of these introverts? Like, what is a big population of these introverts? Let me drill down a little bit more. And it turned out that they were PhDs, which I was one of them. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of PhDs now. Are there more PhDs now than there were? And I started looking at the data, and there's more now than there ever has been. In fact, there's well over 1,000 PhDs produced every single day. And it's because, it's because a lot of governments, especially in second and third world countries, they are pumping out PhDs because somehow they think the more PhDs they are, the higher quality that country is in terms of education. So they're incentivizing universities. This is in the U.S. too, just based on how many PhDs they get into the university, not how many they graduate, not how many they get into jobs, but they're just pumping in PhDs, right? So as a result, there's all of these PhDs, and they tend to be very driven people who work well on their own. But they're, if I can say, at least for myself, a little bit like narrow-minded. They can get in the weeds a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so what we try to do is expand their focus, show them how to apply those skill sets, not just in academia in these closed circles that don't have, career trajectories like they used to, and put them into something where they can help humanity better, where they can, how amazing would it be for a lot of these pharmaceutical companies and biotechnology companies not to be run by, some Harvard MBA who has no idea about the technology that could save lives, that's just going to cut it based on the bottom line, and put some of these PhDs and these people that understand the technical side, understand the biology, the engineering at the highest level, have them be the CEOs of those companies.
Okay. That's pretty neat, actually. I mean, it's, I think, people like, what's his name? Zuckerberg, like these are all introverts that are creating massive impact in society. It's pretty wild. You think about it.
Absolutely.
So you're kind of taking this by the horns and helping lead people and teach people. I mean, is it like teaching, or are you actually just helping, like you're like become like their,
It's mentorship. It's our training. We do in-person trainings. We probably have, we've done well over 400 events in 35 different countries now. And it's enjoyable.
You speak a lot of different languages, huh?
Yeah. No, luckily in STEM, right? Like science, technology, engineering, math, it's English tends to be the language that's used a lot. I know a little bit of German and French, but not much. Not enough to do a presentation, I'll tell you that.
Cool. So if you were going to give, like 3 pieces of advice to someone, say, listen, we want you to improve your lifestyle, based on what and based on, the science of intelligent achievement, what 3, like something that people could do tomorrow, what 3 things would you tell them that, you should take these 3 action steps tomorrow to make yourself better?
Well, this will bring it full circle back to the book, because I just wrote on this. And the fancy words that are used in the book is it's selective focus, creative ownership, and pragmatic growth. But I'll break those down. The first thing is just your focus. What are you focusing on? Like, cut all of the garbage out of your life. Start with the people who are bad for you, or that that you're bad for. You have to walk away. All of the information that you're stuffing yourself with that you don't need to, you have to eliminate that. Protect your focus, protect your mental energy. That's number 1. Number 2, stop being dependent, right? That be an owner, not a follower, not somebody who's dependent, right? So this is like in your career, Most people are dependent on the approval of one person for whether or not their career advances. They're dependent on one person for all of their income. Unbelievable. That is complete dependence, and that is misery. Others are completely dependent on one person at home for their happiness. Right? And no one person, I mean, you can talk to any marriage or relationship counselor out there. No one person can meet all of your needs. Yet we tend to get this in these codependent relationships because society says this one person should fill all of your needs. It doesn't matter if you're a guy, girl, whatever. That's what we're told. You have to start being an owner. You have to start taking ownership of your life, which means being less dependent on any one person or one thing for meeting your needs, financial or connection-wise, autonomy, etc. And then finally, that pragmatic growth, that's a fancy way of saying have some personal responsibility. Everything that's happened to you in your life is your fault, right? Now, people take offense to that because it means like, well, this person did this to me or whatever. Like what, I've heard so many people say you're victim shaming with that. Not at all. What that's saying is like, while you may not be responsible for everything that happens to you, you're responsible for how you respond to it. And you have to be. I would never wish on my worst enemy that they stay a victim forever and that they don't take control of their lives after something negative has happened, right? That is the worst state to be in. That's a race to the bottom. Instead, you have to give that person a sense of self-control, self-empowerment, give them their self-confidence back, let them know that, hey, this happened. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do in response to what happened, and you can ultimately be in control of your future.
Yeah, I like that the responding. My adopted uncle, if you will, he told me something. I think I was a teenager. He goes, "You need to have responsibility." And I'm looking at him like, "What does that even mean?" He goes, "You need to be able to respond with ability."
Oh, I like it.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty neat." Like it made me just think of the word like totally different now. Was like you're saying, most of us all too often just react to no matter what. It's like, crap, I missed my workout today. Screw it. I'm just going to go eat like 4 cookies or a donut or so. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just pissed off. So I'm going to just do everything that's going to go against, my life.
Right.
Or whatever it is. Like, I missed reading a book today or writing in my journal today. So screw it. I'm not going to do it for the whole week. I'm just pissed off. I mean, I'm angry at the world right now.
Exactly right.
That's cool. I like that. So very cool. So, Isaiah, so what we're going to do, we're going to connect to people. So how do people actually find you?
I mean, the easiest way is you can either go to cheekyscientist.com. That's easy to remember, right? Uh-huh. Those words don't usually go together. Or just go to isaiahhankel.com and you can read some stuff I write there.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to connect you with Isaiah because I've been through chunks of his book right now since I have like a very abbreviated version. It's actually really cool. I do like it a lot. It aligns very well with everything that we talk about on Lifestyle Locker Radio. And you can take it and kind of apply, like we said earlier, you can apply it to lots of different areas of your life. You don't have to just kind of be narrow-minded with it. Stay open because the world and the universe are giving us some really cool things. And I think, what pumped out of your brain onto these digital pages that I'm looking at is pretty awesome. So I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Great to be on there. Thank you for having me.
Isaiah, thank you so much, brother. We'll chat soon. So, Lifestyle Locker Nation. Hope you enjoyed, Isaiah. Hope you had, at least got some points down, right? Selective focus, creative ownership, and pragmatic growth. Listen, I want all of your lifestyles to grow massively in a good, positive, healthy, most awesome way. So make sure you do connect with Isaiah. You'll be able to find everything in the show notes, and you can go over to lifestylelocker.com/Isaiah Hankel. It'll be in the podcast section of the website. So until next time, Locker Nation, see you soon. Peace out.